We know that all things work together for good. Whether you've gone through dark moments, whether you've gone brokenness, whatever it is, somehow, somewhere, when you got purpose, it will align itself and work for good. Today, I'm joined with a special guest. On his book, we'll be talking about leadership and knowledge. Now, we have seen, our quote from John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. Relationship, marriage, country, company, organization, everything is about leadership. Believe me, you can't be better than the lead on top of your pot. Welcome, Mr. Mind Augustinus Ngombe. Am I right?
Very right.
Okay, great. Now, you have written this book, Leadership and Knowledge, endorsed by Professor Lumumba. You know that he's one of the mentees or mentors. Okay, now we're going to go through into it very quickly and very briefly. Leadership and knowledge. Right now as Africa, I think we need this kind of discussion on open transparency. But right now we're scared because everybody is talking about it from a political point of view, where they belong and what they want to get out of it. Nobody is being transparent and being open about it. Now, first tell me, when did you come to arrive and think, okay, a book on leadership? Maybe you had several concepts. Why did you decide to do a book on leadership?
I have observed, growing up, seeing how the entities being run down, the organizations, schools falling apart,
yes,
hospitals. Now you can see that some of the agencies are not doing well. At the moment we are faced with one of the difficult challenges, the liquidation of some of them because they are not that functional. So all this, not then I was not focusing on the liquidation.
Yes.
But incompetency was a problem to me. That, you know, you would find this person who is in the leadership position and they have no clue whatsoever that as to how their actions will be able to affect them, the people in the organizations and the generation to come. So as a student at the University of Namibia, I started writing down notes, not with an intention that I was going to be verbatim and be able to remember what I wanted to write down as notes and make a book. But I was writing down notes to guide me as a student was to become a teacher. And later on I felt, let me put it together and then see if I can be able to make a book and be able to share it amongst my peers. So that is how this leadership and knowledge was built.
Okay. We're going to look at some of the concepts and issues that you have tried to allude to or describe in your book. And buy the truth and do not sell it. It sounds, as I'm a poet, it sounds very poetic. Can you put it in a layman's terms, or someone who is not as illuminated, intellectual as you are? So what would you say about it?
Leadership is about working with people. And when you work with people, you are working with the trust which they have within you. So the way you sell your ideas at first that makes them fall in love should not be taken advantage of, because if the trust is lost, it is difficult to regain it. Now, how do you get to build the trust? The source of your inspiration matters a lot. If you are to draw the inspiration from the wrong source, then you are going to sell your trust by having to be not consistent in your action and in the dealings of the leadership.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, we're talking about buying the truth and do not sell it. In this chapter 1, what are you trying to say?
We are looking at leadership as the salesman's business,
Okay.
where you sell ideas to other people. And then when you sell these ideas, your sellability depends on the truth about their circumstances that you are selling to them as a hope that it would be better if they are to be able to follow in that direction. Now, if you put up together a team and succeed to move in a certain direction, do not forsake what attracted people. Because if you forsake it, then you will lose the trust of people, and therefore it will nullify your leadership.
Now, when you're talking about leadership, you're talking about truth, buying it and selling it, selling ideas. Some people look at truth as subjective but not really objective. Truth to who? For what? So that has actually, in the time we live in, people using their perspective of truth. Let me give an example. What is going on around right now in Africa is the selling of false miracles. And somebody will stand up on the platform and say it's the truth. Okay? Somebody advertising a wrong product. Somebody dealing things illegally. And they're going to ask you, whose truth is it? So what do you define as a truth that you can buy and you cannot sell it? What is that truth that people can buy and they can't sell it?
If you are talking about the church and its magical works which looks like wonders and miracles, I think that is not new to Africa. We have had greater witch doctors who would sow maize and grow it now and you will eat it today. We have had such experience. The only thing that have changed is that they have wrapped magic into biblical things and then sell it to the people who are striving to advance their religious and spiritual growth. So that is the only thing that have changed. We have really seen lots of wolves in sheepskins as to they are witch doctors and they are going to church and then looking like pastors and looking like prophets when they are not. But when we are talking about the truth, there is what we call as natural law. If we look at gravity, if we throw you from this building down, it's obvious that you will not float. You will have to fall and then it will harm you.
Yeah.
So that is natural, whether you are in China, whether you are in Europe, whether you are in Africa, it's the same. So now with leadership, it's about the governance codes. You need to be transparent, accountable. You need to make sure that there's integrity in you. So these principles, I do not know how you are going to deliver it, but if you violate them, there will be a ripple effect.
We are challenged right now. I would have loved to go in details because right now, in most of organizations, government institution, private sector, we are being governed. And you look at the building, I pass by buildings, and you look at the principles, teamwork, honest and integrity, and all these kind of beautiful imagery they write on their walls. That, on the contrary, when you write this, those truths 90% don't apply in that building. Those leaders, 90%, don't carry the integrity, the character of these truths. So where do we stand? If a person who is writing the billboard truths or principles that can guide the organization, they are not binding by it.
We stand, or we are in the era where the systems that we borrowed from the colonizers were not well understood. And then we don't do things for our own good. We do things to please those who colonized us and left us in power. To say when they read about this, they will know that we are doing right. But there is no painful truth than lying to yourself, because negative effect will always surface. No matter how much you hide it, if you are not doing what you have portrayed on the paper, the outcome of that organization will always tell the whole world that you are not integrated to what you are saying on paper, and the person or the organization that is affected is you in the society where you live, not anywhere else.
That brings to my next question. Whatever that truth is, the next chapter in your book, you talk about the root of all evil on earth. What was the concept behind it? We have heard things like the love of money is the root of all evil. But is this what you are trying to say in this chapter? What were you trying to say?
I was trying to clarify
Okay.
on the misconception about money.
Okay.
Because we go around and then say, no, money is the root of all evil. It's not true.
Okay.
Because money is like water. It takes up the shape of the container which contains it. If you take a rectangular container and put water in there, it will just become rectangular.
Yes.
If you take something that is in a circular form, it will become a circle. The same with money. The mindset that is in the possession with money can determine the attitude or how that money will behave.
Okay.
Not necessarily that the money makes one behave in a certain way. It just reveals who you are. So now, the root of all evil is the love of money without the right attitude. Because money can afford us to do the social responsibility, building schools, building hospitals, paying for medical cares, paying the services that the government has, including the church services. You know, they need to afford things using money as a commodity.
Yeah.
But when one is perverted about money, they will do anything to be able to acquire it. Whether they fool others, whether they steal from others,
Yes.
whether they make up false things like what we have said, they engrave things on the billboard and this is what we stand for, while their life portray differently.
Our leadership and our people, is it that because of the history is the reason they are behaving the way they are behaving, slavery and all that? Now if you put a broken man in terms of character, in terms of knowledge, simply because he's politically affiliated, in a leadership position, in a company, and you expect them to behave according to the ethics, it's almost impossible. So have you considered in your writing that it's not just the love of money, but also the background at which people are brought up that have a certain perception about money?
If you read through the book, you will come across a chapter called What Keeps Us Small. So that is talking about the mindset that we have. I took one example where we have a scenario, two men, at the beginning they were given the same equal wealth and they were living in a fertile land. However, their mindset differed. One was having the cattle, vineyard, chickens,
Yes.
and you can mention all the wealth. And the other one as well. They had equal wealth at the beginning. But one of them was taking care of his things. And they reproduced, they multiplied to an extent where he could not have the store. But the other one, however, could not take care of the chicken. The chicken did not have the shelter. The dogs could not be sheltered. Cattle were not well looked after. After a certain period of time, these things died. And he had nothing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he looked at the neighbor and he began now to steal from the neighbor. So now, if you look at these scenarios, we are saying history tells us that there were people with the same mindset as what we are having now. And the history proves beyond doubt that they failed. So us, having this privilege, we cannot repeat that same mistake. We better begin with the right mindset to say, you know, these resources that we have, the best thing we can do to it is to take a good care of it. It multiplies so that it benefits the people, than having to take much and misuse it. Because once it comes to an end, it will become difficult for us to have any resources.
Yeah. Okay, is it part of the mindset that makes one a generation of evil?
Yes, it's actually the mindset that runs the world.
Okay.
For you to be able to ignore that these resources belongs to this organization, or these resources belongs to the people, to the government, to the generations to come. So this will play in your mind to say, you know, it belongs to me, I have the power now, I can do whatever that I feel like, I can take as much as I want. So this is the mindset at play. Nothing else than the mindset, the way you view life, the way you view the principles that are there. You undermine the justice system, you undermine the law, because there's a code of conduct. There are teachers who report to school and they do nothing and they get salaries. There are police who are not reporting to work and they are getting salaries. If you go to universities now, they keep recycling people, though they are competent people who are there. What is keeping us here? It's the mindset which we've adopted.
And those are what you call generational thieves?
Yes.
They are stealing from...
We are stealing from this generation and the generation to come. Because we make the entities, we make our country to be unproductive.
How do we now shift to the inherited act of leadership?
We need to begin to move in the right direction by adopting a new mindset to say, you know, what qualifies a leader is not a person, not the name of a person, but their merit. What is the content of their mind? How productive would they be? Can we begin to sign contract with people and say, if you cannot produce, you are not to deserve this certain position? So this is why I believe this is why democracy was established. But as it looks, we have seen the loopholes within the democratic system and we bypass all the principles that it has. And what we do is we have submerged kind of behavior, attitude and mindset that weaken the system day after day.
And would you say that because of this mindset, because of these behaviors and the incompetence and people keeping their fellow friends and families who are not producing, is that what keeps us small?
That is what exactly keeps us small. Look, if we put in a position someone who reports to work and does nothing, and we expect the country to be able to move in a certain direction, then we are fooling ourselves. Because what I know is that the growth and development of the country is a collective thing of what every individual is doing. So if you are a teacher, if you are a nurse, if you are an engineer, if you are a president, if you are a minister, each one of us is expected to deliver the best that we can. And when we put it together, we see that the country is productive.
Yeah.
But if our mindset is like, I can do whatever that I please for as long as there will be a salary, there will be time where the salary will be even difficult to be obtained by a human being. If we look at the situation where people who are retrenched, companies that closed, companies that are liquidated, where are these people going to get the salary? But at some point in time they thought salary will come anyhow. It will just come automatically. Now the danger that I've seen is that especially the middle management, a person will fail this company today or an agency because it will decorate the CV to say he had an experience over this period of time. They will be promoted to go and fail another entity and another entity before we realize the same people whom we are celebrating and promoting are the one running down society.
But why? Why are we not learning as Africans? I mean, we have many examples of many companies, many countries. We have the examples of Zimbabwe, we have examples of the Middle East countries that in and out of war every year, every hour. Why as Africans are we not learning. And that brings me to my next point in your book, the issue of integrity. Who is accountable to check my integrity? If I'll be being pushed from the next assignment to the next company, to the next president, to the next minister, who is responsible to check my integrity?
If you look at it, leadership is a trusteeship. It was supposed to be us giving you power to say, take charge of our resources, all of us. And then the better you do, or the better job you do, the more we will rely on you. So now what we were supposed to have is the system that allows people to question, that allows people to have a say, to say, this is done wrongly, we do not want it to continue. But as it is, those who are in power are the same people who are holding each other accountable while they are doing the wrong thing. Now the masses of people, no matter how much they cry, if the leadership does not decide to move this person, to remove this person, then nothing happens. Now when the people's power is weakened, accountability is compromised, integrity is compromised. At the end of the day, the people who suffer the most are the masses who do not have the power to make a decision and say, he must go out.
So right now, you are saying the people who are supposed to keep those in leadership accountable in terms of integrity, they are also weak.
We have sophisticated a way of having to look for the loopholes in the justice system, where, you know, we have seen people who have been defended by lawyers. And as a layman, what do I do? If the law have declared this person innocent, even if things have gone missing, even if things are not being done right, even if these things, you know, we keep on protecting the butter and bread of one person at the expense of the masses. We say this person cannot be removed from this role that we have given him because he has the right as a human being. But how about the right of the masses, which is compromised by this one person?
Now, from there, looking at integrity and what has been compromised because of lack of integrity, you now brings us to the issue of leadership and administration. What are you trying to communicate?
So I wanted us to know that leadership and administration have been used interchangeably, but it's not always the case. So leadership and administration works in hand, but they differ.
Okay.
So a leader may have a vision, but they do not have the procedures to follow step by step to be able to fulfill the vision. But the administrator is trained to be able to come up with the systematic procedures that make the operation of an organization, of a country, that then from day to day, whatever that is to be done, following that systematic procedure, will come to the realization of the vision which the leader have instated. So now Africa has more leaders than the technical administrators. Now because of the confusion, we now put more leaders and less administrators. At the end of the day, the consequence is that we do not value and appreciate the role that the
Is that
administration
necessarily true? That we don't have administrators? It's well put, the distinction between administrators and leaders. But I would argue in the sense that there is a dysfunctional in our systems. Mm-hmm. You are a leader, I'm an administrator, and I tell you systematically what you're trying to propose, sir, it's impossible. It will take us in deficit, it will take us in borrowing, it will take the company, the country down. But what you do, what African leaders do, they fire people. They fire administrators. So it's not necessarily that we don't have administrators. African leaders, company, organization, the system-wide, they are failing. All these companies that are closing is because some leaders don't want to listen to the administrators. And when you as an administrator say the path we are taking, you are now seen as a rebellion, you are now seen as an enemy to the leader. And then they take you out of the way. They cook up some things. We have seen this in companies. I'm one of the people sometimes back who was laid off because I was contrary to my leader to say this system we're trying to implement, it will cost us much and it will give us back as a company nothing. But because maybe the leader indirectly was going to benefit from that contract, I ended up being fired. Because, and the allegation to the board was I was not performing to the interest of the company.
So this is literally what I said.
Okay.
That when they fire you as an administrator, then the system remains with more leaders than the administrators. The job which you are supposed to do cannot be done by the leader who fired you, because he is focused on the vision and the mission, and you are focused on the day-to-day operation of that organization. Now, if this day-to-day is undermined, what happens? The company dies gradually.
Yeah. And that's where we find ourselves. Now, from administrators, now you're going to be looking at leadership and management. What are we bringing to that table? When we looked at leadership and administration, that brings us now to the saying that, okay, there must be also leadership and management. What do we say in terms of leadership and management?
Management is taking charge of already initiated things.
Is management different from administration?
It's the same.
Okay.
It's the same, but carrying different names.
Okay.
Depending on what role it is playing at that specific moment. Because management have to deal with planning, have to deal with the communication, have to deal with span and control, have to deal with leadership. But leadership itself, it is the advanced level where you see the vision which cannot be finished in a day. As for management, every day they have got tasks that speaks to how can we best move closer to achieving our mission and the vision. So by carrying out these 7 elements, which I have mentioned, or few of them I have mentioned, like span and control, you need to do the planning, you need to communicate,
yes.
So these things on a daily basis, they are the one that craft things or the output which speaks to the bigger picture, which is the vision that the leader have initiated. So you may be able to come up with a vision as a leader, but you may not know how to best achieve that, which the manager will be able to do.
Mr. Mind, well put. Thank you for breaking down the principles. We have people in leadership position. Again, because Africa is the richest and Africa is going down at the moment. 90%, I should say 90%, it's okay. We have leaders, maybe even some companies. Private sector seems to be doing well. Private sector seems to be doing well because they operate basis on profit, so they can't afford to make too much errors. We are looking at the leaders who don't even understand these principles. They don't. They just know I'm in power, I say go, go, come, come. That's the whole understanding. So they may not understand that. The words, the principles in play. We are in a crisis as Africa. We are in a crisis. We are literally going into a graveyard. Now, you talked about in the book the use of wrong to correct wrong. What is happening in that case? Because we're going in a graveyard, but we're still using the wrong method to correct the wrong things. What were you trying to communicate?
I was using the medical approach towards solving the problem.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm a biology teacher, and what we were taught in biology class is that, you know, the vaccines that we get, especially when the antibacterial vaccines. So what usually happens is that they obstruct, or they get the microorganisms, and then they kill them, they put them in the solution, and then they inject them in the body with the reason or with the aim of going in the body and activate the antibodies, so that if the same bacteria comes in the body and attack, they will be able to recognize and then neutralize it.
Okay.
So we use the wrong things, the bacteria which the body doesn't need, to prepare the body to fight that same thing. Now, we have been addressing about corruption, excluding those who take part in corruption. We speak to the wrong people. I want to see in Africa where we take these people who have been doing the wrong things and include them in the equation, and then say, let us correct our own wrong using this approach, or using these people who are dependent. They did the wrong things, now they want to stand for their society and for the well-being of this generation, the citizens and the generation to come, and say, let us fight. The Bible have shown us Saul was executing the Christians. God has to turn him to be able to preach the gospel. How many epistles that Paul had written? How many Christians that Paul had encouraged? How many people got converted because of Paul's message?
Yeah.
A lot. Are we doing this? No.
Okay. I understand in that angle. Using the vaccine method. There is a saying, or there is a proverb or saying, that the leopard doesn't change its colors or its spots. How many are willing, and how many do we have, people that did corruption and are willing to come forth and say, use my story? Because every case we have ever dealt with in Africa of corruption, be it a president, be it subordinate, be it in companies, at any stage, everybody has said they were innocent. I think maybe 1%. I haven't come across an article where a person actually admitted, I did corruption, and therefore these are things I've learned. So we may love to do that, but how many are literally willing to come forth and say, I did wrong and I got convicted, I came out? That would be another thought we need to think about.
I spoke about God because He's just. He was able to convert Saul. You know,
not to kill Saul, not to persecute Saul.
Saul did not write the epistle before he was converted.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Now, our justice system are not strong enough, because they are the one that are mentoring the lawyers, and the lawyers are defending the wrong people.
Yes.
And before they are convicted, we cannot bring them to tell stories about what? So if the justice system cannot be just as it is, then we cannot also be able to convict those who are doing the wrong things. But if our just system become one with what they stand for, and they are strong enough to be able to get rid of the wrong, then we will be able to get the testimonies. Because those who are convicted after a certain period of time, they will then come up and say, I did this. They may not come and say it in public, but they will warn others in the society and say, I tried to do that. And when the system got me, I began to realize that what I was doing is wrong. You know, one day I was driving in a taxi, and one guy told me, you know, if I was wise as it is now, I wouldn't have done what I did. I worked in an organization, they trusted me with money, and I stole money until when I was caught. And today I'm a taxi driver. So now we want to see this happening at a more advanced level. Maybe if Africa can get there, where those who abuse the resources are dealt with, we will begin.
Augustinians, this is amazing discussion. But in the close-up, we are summing up, we are closing this. Are we going to get there as Africans?
Rome has fallen. It had all these things. Greece is now history. It had all these philosophers. What makes countries great is the mindset. And I am not the one to bring the solution to the whole Africa. But what I'm saying is that I will make my small contribution. I have now, more than ever, accepted that to make an impact is not about the camera rolls, it's not about the fame, it's not about being on the billboard, but accepting the price you pay to be able to be heard. And this price sometimes become extreme. Malcolm X of United States died because of that. He had to be shot 11 bullets, dead as we speak. Martin Luther King was shot. How rich was he? I do not know. But most of these people died and they did not have money in their account. You can talk about Steve Biko in South Africa died in a car. They made sure that the cold and the harshness in that car will kill him. Did he die in millions? No. They paid the price. So even us here, it's not going to be an easy thing. And we are not doing it because this is my career. No, I'm doing it because I have now become one with my conviction. If they manage to buy me off, what I'm saying today will never die. One young man will pick up this conversation and be able to push the agenda. Will Africa rise? Yes. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but one of the good days, when we have had enough trouble, we will realize that better we are sober and take our small steps and build our industries than becoming consumers, than becoming weak people who are bribed, than becoming weak people who want to steal from ourselves. China, Japan, whatever country that bribe us. Today, if you go in China and they find you that you have been caught in the act of corruption, there will be no question about it. You can be executed. But what do we do here? When we find those people, we defend them, celebrate them, and promote them. That is our downfall.
Okay. Your last word to the young man out there who wants to follow the footsteps of integrity and character and leadership. Just few words.
My few word is, this thing is possible. It can be done. It will be done by us. But the more people join in the league of standing and shouting against corruption, the better it becomes. Because even the Bible says, when the wise are silent, the wicked take over.
Yeah.
So we can't keep the silence. We cannot enjoy and celebrate what is going on. We take our small step, even if it means you go home with an empty stomach. But tomorrow you still rise up and say, Amanda, we go ahead and one day it's going to
Thank
get
you so
there.
much. We were breaking down some principles in this book, Leadership and Knowledge. Please get a copy so that you can get in details, the depth of this book. We were just on the surface and we believe you have gotten illuminated, but you'll be much enlightened on leadership and more knowledgeable if you get the book. Contact Mr. Mind on Generational Focus Facebook page or his page, and let's share the knowledge. Let's empower each other as Africans. We can only as strong as the mind and the knowledge that we have. Until then, this is a power of purpose. Thank you so much.